Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to another Fallout 4 Mods Weekly, the show where we take a look at all the really cool and interesting mods that have come out in the past week for Fallout 4. And this week, we have a lot more mods than usual, and most of them are weapon mods, so it definitely is an exciting week for those of you who do enjoy new and fun and creative weapons to use in your game. And we have a lot to cover, so I'm not going to spend too much time dwelling on that. Let's go ahead and get started with our first mod. And to get us started this week, we're not actually looking at a weapon mod, we're looking at Vulkan, a landscape retexture by Delicious Vegetable. This is the same author who brought us incredible mods like Badlands and Borealis, now here with a brand new landscape retexture that reminds me a lot of the old school Scorched Earth mod. This is going to completely destroy the landscape and turn all of the dirt and sand and everything into a nice ashy gray or blackish color. A lot of the grass is going to be removed, the trees are all going to be dead, the wildlife is sparse, and overall this just looks like a place that has suffered a nuclear apocalypse. Now, it's very debatable how you want to go about making your game look, but if you want the apocalyptic vibe, this one definitely sells it, and I think with the right E and B, you can definitely get a real Fallout 3 style with this mod. Even the sand of the beaches has turned black, and the really cool part of this landscape is in fact the glowing sea. I think the glowing sea has the biggest overhaul in this mod, and it's going to change the green hue that you're used to into a nice black and orange. There is magma rising from the cracks in the earth, and it glows in the dark. Whenever you head into the glowing sea at night, it is a completely different feel than in the vanilla game, and it's one that I enjoy a lot, and it actually made exploring the glowing sea a lot of fun. When I was getting footage for this mod, I couldn't help but just walk around and look at everything because it was all so different and super cool. So if you're looking for a bit more of a duller landscape in terms of color, you want to wash everything out and make it feel like somewhere that has suffered from a serious catastrophic apocalyptic event, this is definitely a mod that is worth checking out. Everybody has their own style they want in their game, but I think this is definitely a strong contender, especially if you're looking for something similar to that old Scorched Earth mod. This is definitely a great one. Excellent work by Delicious Vegetable. Now up next for the first of our weapon mods, we have a brand new melee mod, and that's going to be the Mojave Bumper Swords and Vertibird Blade by Zanthir. This mod is going to add 3 brand new bumper swords into the game. You're going to get the standard bumper sword and a larger variant of the bumper sword, and you're going to get a Vertibird blade, which has a similar profile to the other two, except instead of made out of a car bumper, this one's made out of the blade from a Vertibird. This weapon is added to the level list and will start spawning out in the world on Super Mutants after level 12, but I will say in my testing I actually ran into one of these on a raider. Now, it could be possible that the raider happened to kill a Super Mutant off screen and took it from their body, but I did see a raider with one of these, at least with the smaller version. Not sure if that's as intended, I just wanted it to be known. Anyways, there are also 3 unique versions of these weapons hidden throughout the world, including 2 brand new bumper swords and Lily's Vertibird blade. You can grab Lily's Vertibird blade inside the Cabot house, you can find the Blade of the East at the decayed reactor site in the glowing sea, and you can find the Blade of the West near Nahant Chapel. These are pretty simple melee weapons. None of these can take attachments over at the weapons workbench, but they don't really need to. These are some really nice quality melee weapons, and unlike the old bumper sword mod, this one has 3 different versions that are added to the leveled list, so I think it's a pretty good bang for your buck, and if you want the classic weapon from Fallout New Vegas, I think this is a really cool addition to the game. Up next, we have a brand new bolt-action rifle known as the BT SPR by Subleader, Nova, and Mattias H. This is going to add the brand new SPR rifle into the game, which is a bolt-action 5.56 sniper rifle that has some really cool attachments over at the weapons workbench and some really interesting quirks to it. By default, like I said, this weapon is chambered in 5.56, but you can rechamber it to 308 or the newly added 300 Blackout, and on top of that, there's different ammo types for each of these ammos. So if you have 5.56, you can throw on, say, armor piercing or hollow points, or the pretty interesting rat shot, which will turn your sniper into sort of a shotgun, but the grouping is really tight and it's definitely viable at range. If you throw on something like the 308, you can even get explosive rounds, so that's a really nice, powerful addition to this weapon. There is an optional file to add a leveled list to this weapon, so it will start spawning out in the world, or if you just use the base version of the mod, you can craft it over at the chemistry station. This weapon, of course, comes with custom animations as to be expected for a nice quality bolt-action rifle. And for those of you who do use it, there is a patch that makes this compatible with tactical reload, so you can get different animations depending on how empty your magazine is. The SPR also has beautiful sound design on top of its animations. I'll go ahead and play that for you now because I think this is absolutely incredible. Altogether, this makes for a nice quality new sniper rifle that I think looks really, really nice. If you're running a modern tactical style load order, this is definitely one I'd recommend picking up. And if I was running a load order like that, I'd absolutely be throwing this in there, and this may become my new go-to bolt action rifle. But if this weapon wasn't cool enough, there's actually an add-on for it by Nova known as SPR Uncut. This is going to add a handful of new, crazy attachments to the SPR that allow for intense levels of customization similar to, say, Escape from Tarkov. You want 2 bipods? Go for it. 3 laser sights? Sure, why not? You want a pistol grip or just a buffer tube? I mean, sure, I guess. You can do a lot with this mod, and it's pretty crazy. And it all just works with the base features of the original mod. For example, the original mod only had 1 laser slot, but you had the option to, say, change the color of the laser. Well, now with all of the newly added lasers, they will all be able to change laser colors as well, and you can do some pretty fun, goofy stuff with that. Or maybe you want 3 flashlights so you can just absolutely blind your enemy. It is a tactic in Tarkov, so why not bring it into Fallout 4? This mod isn't going to drastically change the balance of the original, but if you want even more customization options, there's no reason not to pick this one up. If I do remember correctly, I even saw pictures of an M16 carry handle on this thing in the upcoming section of Nova's Discord, but I wasn't able to find that in-game, so I don't know if that was just a bug on my end or if it didn't make it into full release, but it may be out there. Now, sadly, Nova did take this one down from the Nexus, but it is still totally downloadable. You can grab it either in my Discord or Nova's Discord. I'll have Nova's link down in the description below. Now up next we have yet another melee weapon, and this one is really cool. It's known as Screwdriver Shivs by Wanamingo. This is going to add screwdrivers that can be used as melee weapons. Now this has been done before, and it's actually something I wanted to do as well in one of my tool weapon packs that I'll be doing at some point in the far future, but I think Wanamingo has definitely nailed it. This adds a really customizable screwdriver shiv to the Raider leveled list, so whenever you fight enemies, there's a chance they'll be using a screwdriver as a melee weapon instead of, say, a switchblade, as it is added to the switchblade leveled lists. Alternatively, you may actually find this thing anywhere you might find a regular screwdriver, so that's pretty cool as well. When you first get one of these, they are just going to be dull screwdrivers, but you can take them over to the weapons workbench, and there's a surprising amount of customization despite this thing being just a screwdriver. You can change out the head on it, whether you want it to be flathead or Phillips. Spoiler, flathead does more damage in this mod. You can add a coating to the quote-unquote blade of this weapon. You can throw on poison or even some radiation damage. Or you can even add a shadowed coating, which I'm assuming is just oil, and that's going to darken the blade and give you a stealth bonus when you use it, so that's pretty cool. You can also change the size of the grip, whether it be small or large, and large is obviously going to add more weight, but give you more damage since it is now a heavier weapon. The customization on this thing is pretty surprising, but definitely very welcome, and I absolutely love the idea of improvised melee weapons. It's something that absolutely belongs in Fallout, and I wish there was a lot more of it in the vanilla game, but at least we can add it back with mods. I see absolutely no reason why a raider would resort to using, say, a pull cue as an actual weapon, as opposed to all of the other tools that you might find laying around Fallout 4. They exist as miscellaneous items, but why can't we use them as weapons? Well, this mod is going to help fix that, at least in regards to the screwdriver. Definitely one I recommend picking up, downloading, and just forgetting it's there, as it's going to help spice up the variety of melee weapons you encounter in the Wasteland. Now up next we have, guess what, another weapon mod, and that's going to be the Modern Warfare Jak 12 by Alphaca. Now we actually covered this one in a full breakdown not too long ago, so if you want to check that out for all of the details and stats and attachments, you can feel free to do so. It'll be linked down in the description below. But for those of you who didn't catch that, the Jak 12 is going to be a brand new full auto combat shotgun that you can use in Fallout 4, and I gotta say, this thing is a lot of fun. I mean, what says fun more than a full auto shotty with explosive rounds? Yeah, you can throw explosive rounds on this thing. or incendiary rounds. It's really up to you. The possibilities on this weapon are pretty cool. This weapon is always in fully automatic. You cannot turn it semi. It is always full auto, but it still has some pretty high damage and even a really high magazine capacity if you decide to throw on, say, oh, I don't know, a 32 round drum mag. Much like the real life counterpart, the AA-12, this thing absolutely slings out lead and it does a ton of damage in combat. This is definitely intended for the late game. This comes with custom animations, of course, and sadly, this one is not added to the leveled list. Instead, you're just going to have to go pick it up at the Sanctuary Root Cellar. I would definitely love to see a leveled list patch for this thing at some point in the future, but until then, you'll just go to Sanctuary, grab it, and you've got a pretty powerful late game weapon right off the bat. The Jack 12 comes with custom sounds on top of custom animations as well. I'll go ahead and let those play for you now so you can see them for yourself and determine if this mod is right for you. This is definitely another mod intended for a modern and tactical style playthrough. Though the AA-12 is a pretty retro weapon, this mod in particular does have a lot more of the modern style furniture and modern optics, which kind of don't fit well in the Fallout universe, but it's really up to you and how you decide to use your load order. It's still a great mod regardless, and definitely a lot of fun to use. And finally, that takes us to our last mod, which is, in fact, another weapon mod, and that's going to be the FN502 Tactical by Ardent. This is going to be a 22 caliber version of the FN45 Tactical, and I gotta say, this thing is pretty cool and definitely a competent weapon despite being chambered in 22 caliber. There's a lot of ways for you to get extra damage out of this weapon, including upgradable receivers, damage modifiers, and changing out the ammo types, which there is actually a rat shot version of this one as well, or it's called Flechette in this mod, but it allows you to shoot multiple projectiles out of one pistol bullet, so that's pretty cool. Now, while the real-life version of this weapon is chambered in 22, the weapon by default is chambered in 38 since there is no 22 in the base game, but there are a couple of patches to rechamber it to 22 caliber using different mods, and you can actually choose which version of 22 you want based on your load order. So if you want the 22 from the American 180, you can grab that, or you can grab the 22 from, say, real calibers, so that's pretty cool. This weapon, of course, comes with custom animations, and it does have a tactical reload patch for those of you who are looking for that. And if you're hoping for leveled list integration, sadly, there are no leveled lists in this mod. Instead, you'll have to craft this over at the chemistry station, or you can actually find it in Nate's bedroom, so that's pretty interesting. Altogether, I expected this to be just another modern pistol mod, but it was actually a lot of fun in testing. I quite enjoyed this thing. It has really nice, clean, crisp animations. I actually like the sound effects a lot. I'll go ahead and play those after the review is done. And I gotta say, I quite like all of the optic options in here. They're really, really nice. They're on target and they just work. Something I do appreciate. A very nice model, very nice texture. Altogether, just a well-made mod. So if you're looking for a new pistol with a small caliber, maybe something perfect for a stealthy option, I think this is a good mod to throw into your load order. Alright, and with all of that, I think we are just about done. Lots of cool mods this week, definitely some really neat new weapons, and I gotta say, I absolutely love the Vulkan landscape retexture. If you want to try out any of these mods, they will all be linked down in the description below, along with Xbox links if there are any available. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to drop a rating and tell me down in the comments. Consider subscribing if you haven't already for more videos just like this. Big shout out to all of my patrons for supporting every single video, and a special thank you to Captain Chaos, Helljumper2077, Indecisive Wolf, Jackie Noid, Timmy76, Cushy, Moonlit Gamer Feed, and Youth RC for joining that Tier 3 Patreon membership. If you want to consider supporting the channel on Patreon, it will be linked down in the description below, but it's completely optional. Thanks again for watching, guys, and I hope to see you in the next one. Peace!